Hey everyone, welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. I'm Normie, and my other host is Cunado. So Cunado, how you been doing?
I've been doing all right, Normie. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Got a day off for work yesterday, and so that was pretty good. But just kind of having a pickup, and you know, kind of still working and still getting that work in, even though I was at home. But what about you? I hear you're pretty busy.
Yeah, same here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and apologize to anybody who listens to this, live in advance, or if you want to stream it later. I am not nearly as prepared for this show as I would have liked to have been because usually I spend a couple hours pre-show prepping, but had the day off yesterday, did not use it show prepping, and worked late today, so I'm actually still in the old work clothes right now. But I think we can still string something together. So
Yeah, I think we can. I know later on we'll talk about some of the teams that we actually look at. I know for me this year, as a whole, I really haven't kept up with it as much. I do know that pretty much Baylor and Gonzaga are at the top, and then pretty much below that is kind of anybody else's, anybody's ball game there. But one of the big things I definitely have been paying attention to is the fact that the traditional blue bloods are just not doing as well this year. I mean, we're talking Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina. You can kind of put Kansas in there. They haven't had a terrible year, and I think they're still ranked, I think. But usually, Kansas is up there, top 10, usually a higher seed. But they have just not been doing it this year.
no, it's been really weird to see. It's one thing for a few of those teams to be, you know, or one or two to have a down year because you really don't see those teams have down years. I'm not in my lifetime very rarely for any one of the ones you just named. I mean, they are generally locks to at least go to the dance. They generally have pretty high seeds, and they're generally locks to make it to the round of 32. Make it to that second weekend at least. But no, this year it's they have all fallen off the map at the exact same time, and then some of your more outskirt, top tier teams like Michigan State and Tom Izzo, they usually are always ready to go. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know what it is. I haven't really even heard a lot of people talk about why that is. At first, a lot of people were blaming it on COVID, but why would they be dealing with COVID worse than all the other teams that are still doing fine? I did come up with this as a theory for me. Their players are generally way younger than everyone else's, and I'm wondering if it's a maturity thing to stick to all these COVID protocols. I'm wondering if that's messing with their heads more than it would be some of these guys who have a lot of juniors and seniors on their team.
Yeah, I think that maturity probably does have a lot to do with it. I think not having like a per se like spring ball type of thing either, because you're talking a lot of these programs we mentioned, they get a lot of one and done players,
Yeah.
but a lot of times those one and dones, they come in, they get some cohesion and get stuff built together practice wise before they start actually playing. And I think this year that they just didn't have that, and uh, a lot of other teams like I'm gonna talk about later, like Alabama. They've got some really integral like seniors. They've been playing with that team. They've been playing together. They have some juniors, seniors, and they didn't have to really go through all that. They've already played together. They know each other's little quirks, their little things. Whereas a lot of these schools with these one and dones, they haven't had that time to get that in.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big factor as well. With most of the teams that are top heavy, the one we'll be talking about the bracket reveal. They did the top 16 seeds right now for the playoff committee. And you just look up and down at that list of teams, and most of those teams have at least a couple of senior leaders on their teams.
Yeah.
And if not, some of them that are really deep and have a lot of age to them. So yeah, missing training camp and the shortened off season and more distant off season, all of that's going to affect teams like that a lot less because, like you were just saying, they've got more time and practice together. They already kind of understand the nuance of not only their game plans but of playing with one another.
Yep. They know that they have those little tricks already. That hey, this little nod means I'm gonna throw up the three, get ready to rebound, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna be this guy's always standing like this exact spot in practice for 3 years. That's where he's been. I don't even have to look. I can toss it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
And I thought about this when I heard some people talking about it on the radio a few weeks back. No one really has mentioned the G League opening up. I think this would be the second year where some of your one and dones are going overseas right now or going to play in the G League and whatever it is, just saying, all right, I don't need to go to school. I'd rather go ahead and start making my money and then just go to the draft that way. Yeah. I don't know how many of the top talented guys haven't, like I said, that's one of the things I want to do a little bit more research on before I talked about it. But I know that at least a few of your top tier names decided they would rather not play for a blue blood or anybody and go in anybody in the college game and go ahead and start making their money. But you can't blame them. I mean, if that's part of the system now, then.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I was in high school, especially like with football, I think I've talked about it before where you have like players at Alabama that want to leave and you're like, oh, come on, team camaraderie and team being a team, things like that. And then I got older and had to pay my own bills. And I'm just like, fuck yeah, go get paid. Leave now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, like go get paid especially if you don't think that you can improve your draft status. And that's what this G League has really done for them, for these guys who might be borderline first round guys coming out of high school. Because, they've only had to go play college in our lifetime for about 20 years now. No, not 20 years. About 15 years, about half our lives, give or take. Because LeBron James and Dwight Howard were both straight out of high school players. They were two of the last ones that I can recall doing it. And that was 2004 and 2005 or 6. Anyways, so that's not like it's, they've even had to go to college our whole lives. But, if you can go make your money, go make your money. Especially a lot of these guys are coming from poor backgrounds oftentimes. I mean, they've got families to think of and all this. But I would agree. I was the exact same way back in high school. Like, oh, man, like leaving early, you're just going to go chase that money, blah, because you don't understand.
Yeah.
Understand until you're paying your own damn bills.
It's like, hell yeah, go make that money. Don't mess that chance up. Well, so I know obviously you're an Auburn fan. So have you been following Auburn as much this year? I understand if you haven't. I mean, Auburn has no opportunity to go to the NCAA championship or NCAA tournament. And I think this year possibly could have been a year where, I mean, they might have been able to.
Yeah, they're if they didn't put the self-imposed sanctions on themselves for not being able to go to the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament, they might be able to play themselves in right now. I kind of doubt it. I think over their last 2 losses, they've lost that shot unless they had a really good showing in the SEC tournament and then basically won out down this back stretch. I think that they've just about played themselves out. They're a 500 team roundabouts, and some nights they look really good. Sometimes they look really average. I haven't been following them nearly as religious as I have in the past few years. I mean, once Bruce Pearl got them whipped into shape and going to the NCAA tournament, which is never a thing other than the last 3 years or so that I've been a part of. And then last year really sucked because they were really coming on strong. I mean, started strong. Their team looked really good, and to lose the tournament due to the virus of last year kind of also put a damper on this year. Straight up, before the season starts, it's like, well, that's for sure not happening. But what I'm hopeful about is Auburn basketball is the youngest team in NCAA, not in the SEC, in the whole league. We are the youngest team. And so the fact that we don't look like a Kentucky or Duke, some of these teams that are falling apart without experience, we are able to win games and generally be competitive in the games that we play. It gives me hope for the future. Now, a lot of that is this dude named Sharif Cooper, who's come on for the last 11 games. I've heard some people think that he needs another year, and that maybe Bruce Pearl could talk him into staying for one more year, talking about going pro, that he would be a borderline lottery pick. And I've also seen people say that he's a lock for a lottery pick, and they would give it between 0 and 1% chance that he comes back. I think if I've heard about 50% of the people say he needs another year, and he should consider that, and 50% of the people say not a shot in hell, I think it's going to go more that for him, which, once again, like me and you were just talking about, can't hate on him, but he is ultra talented. Now, Auburn's still about a 500 team with him, but they are a lot more fun to watch. They move the ball up and down really, really good. I mean, he's 19.6 a game right now since he's come in, and 8.6 assists and 4.4 rebounds for a point guard. So he fills up the stat sheet. So he's got a 37.7% shooting percentage, which is pretty good, not great. And then he's 24.5 from 3, which is actually a big improvement when I think he started 1 for 17 in his first 17 3-point attempts. So to get it up to 25% right now. But then from the line, he's 82% already. His knocks are he's a little careless with the ball sometimes. He averages about 4 turnovers a game, and that's fluctuates because there are some games where he has almost no turnovers at all, and then there's games where it just kind of gets away from him, and he looks like a freshman with about half the game experience of everybody else around him.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's a lot of fun to watch. If you guys just want to tune in to watch a really fun electric player and don't really give a shit about, if the team wins or loses, that's how I think most Auburn fans are watching this season anyways. Sharif Cooper's one to tune into, but they're very young moving forward. So I'm pretty excited about, looking for, hopefully our self-sanctions are enough. We keep our young talent and just build on this year.
So how much of this year would you say would be, maybe a little not as enthusiastic as far as team-wise, since they have no chance of going to any postseason? How much of a factor do you think that plays into it?
I think that's pretty huge. I've heard a lot of people talk about that too. I mean, it's got to be tough to keep your guys motivated when they know they're really playing for nothing other than pride. And you don't get me wrong, they're competitors. They don't look like a team that gives up. That's the thing that I've liked about Bruce Pearl, even the first 3 or 4 years where it still basically looked like Auburn basketball as far as the win-loss columns, with the single-digit wins and the double-digit losses. I don't actually think he ever did that, but I know that we had more losses than wins still. But he gets his guys to play hard for him no matter what, and you can still see it this year. But I still think that has to be a factor to get 18, 19-year-old guys motivated, get game in and game out, to go out there and give 150%, playing against teams who SEC might be able to put 6 or 7 teams in the tournament this year. So teams that are highly motivated to win at all costs because they are playing for a postseason.
Of course, that Alabama game, they're always going to play hard on that one.
Yeah.
They gave us a run for our money the first time they played this year, and Sharif Cooper was a huge part of that. I think he had like 26 points that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was lights out. Thing is, he did make a kind of freshman middle mistake at the end, which kind of helped Alabama win the game. But also, that was his first game back. I mean, I think Auburn had played 9 games, or not 9 games, but like 4 or 5 games without him because they had to rule if he was eligible or not. So they had played those games without him, and that was his first game back. And I don't even think he had practiced with them.
Yeah, he wasn't even allowed in the facility for the first third of the season, pretty much. And I believe that was his second game back with the team when he actually got cleared by the NCAA. But I'm not positive on that. And also, I believe those. Once again, not positive.
I watched the game, and I think it was his first game back because that was
his first. Okay.
Because that was the big storyline throughout the game. And like I said, he comes in there and scores 26 points, and only one of those points was a 3 because that was the 1-17 start from behind the arc. But he scored a lot of points and gave Alabama a lot of fits that game. So he's going to be one to watch. And I think y'all also have a taller guy who's also a freshman.
JT Thor.
Yeah. So if them two stay, I think next year y'all are gonna have a damn good team. Y'all are gonna be playing lights out next year, especially with hopefully playing for something and having that chemistry coming back with all those young guys. And I think y'all. I think you should. I think if there were gonna be really heavy sanctions, they would already came out with them by now.
It kind of seems that way, and also Auburn seems to have the benefit of the LSU and Arizona snafus going on right now, where nothing's really being done, and ours ended up in the guy who's responsible. He's already been fired, and I think is actually facing jail time with Chuck Persons, and there's no ties that can be proven so far by all that I've heard and read about on that link any of the other pieces of the Auburn program to those violations. It was just the one guy, so it would be failure to monitor your program kind of thing.
Yeah. Kind of like what LSU did in football this year. Yeah, we'll take our postseason ban this year, even though they were awful.
But Auburn basketball team and LSU's football team picked the perfect years to take their self-imposed bans because you're not going to do anything anyway.
Yeah, that was so funny when they came out with that. It was, and it was like bid season. What do you do? I mean, yeah, they would have went to a bowl game. It would have been some crappy one, but they would have went because they're LSU. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was pretty funny, and all for Odell Beckham Jr. giving that money to those players afterwards.
Yeah.
Of course, I look at it. I mean, he gave some to Burrow, and it's like, well, Burrow was done anyway, so I don't understand why it was a big deal.
It's one of those things that we want to pretend like these guys are amateur athletes when they're not.
Oh yeah. And I hear basketball or especially college basketball is a lot worse with that because there are a lot more teams that are competitive year in, year out. And I mean, I hear stories of coaches saying, they'll go into somebody's house, prospect's house, and like the cousin or the uncle or somebody will be sitting there and he'll be like, "All right, so how much money are you offering?" And this one coach is like, "I'm offering him a scholarship. He can go to this great program, things like that." And he's like, "All right, well, there's like 5 other schools who are offering money, so
That's
you're going,
have a nice day.
yeah." So we're like money and cards over here, and you're offering a scholarship. They're offering that as well. But I know I've heard tons of stories like that, and it really happens a lot in basketball.
I've heard the same thing. Well, one, you can start identifying basketball talent a little bit earlier than football talent right now with all the AAU programs and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Plus, it starts to get dirty in those programs with shoe deals and gear deals and all kinds of other stuff like that. And then you've got now these guys can just bypass college anyways. So
yeah,
colleges have to compete even harder. Now, granted, that's pretty recent for, it was the 1 year removed from high school rule. But that never has made sense to me in basketball because in football, those guys really need at least 2 years to get their bodies ready for the NFL
yeah.
because those guys in the NFL look different. I mean, look how much different generally college football players look from when they first come into college to what they look like by the time they're hitting the NFL.
Well, I mean, look at Mark Ingram.
Yeah,
Mark Ingram at Bama versus Mark Ingram like last year, or like a couple of years at the Saints. I mean, it was a huge difference. And Mark Ingram had just won the Heisman. He was a top peak at the college level.
well,
And
and
even
then
Derrick Henry is looking bigger.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he looks like he's probably thrown on another 10 or 15 pounds since he hit the NFL, and he was a big dude coming out of college already. And then
Yep.
you've got LeBron James and Dwight Howard. Speaking about them, who they did go from high school to college, built like brick shit houses when they're 18 years old, or as 16 and 17-year-olds, really. And yeah, they
Yeah.
put on weight in the NBA as they play. I mean, LeBron looks way bigger and thicker than he did when he first came out, but it's not that big of a drawback because he's not getting crushed by those guys. It's
Yeah.
not the contact type of sport that football is. But so I've always thought, well, if these cats can go play right out of high school and the NBA teams want them,
Mm-hmm.
then just let it happen, and that would take a lot of the corruption out of the recruiting game in the NCAA, in my opinion. But I don't know. Maybe it's always been dirty. But I've heard the same stuff that college basketball is about as bad as it gets when it comes to dirty, underhanded recruiting and paying players and all
Yeah.
that stuff, like the Louisville, like straight up hiring hookers.
Hookers. Yeah.
I mean, throwing everything that you possibly can at these children to
Yeah.
get them to come represent your school.
Well, and the thing is, that's not what got was it Rick Pitino
Yeah, it was Rick Pitino.
that got him fired. Because then he ended up getting caught up into that. What was it, Adidas or Nike? What was the deal that even Auburn got rolled up in a little bit?
I think that it was Adidas.
Adidas that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what it ended up getting. Of course, he was on very, very thin ice after the whole hooker incident thing.
And he's had a pattern.
Yeah.
There's been something, and now I know that there's any local fans who pull for Auburn and Alabama. As soon as Bruce Pearl got hired, I heard a lot of the opposition. Oh, he's dirty. He's dirty. It's like, okay, his suspension that he served, like to where he couldn't coach college basketball for a little while, was having a recruit over at a barbecue.
Yeah.
That's what they nailed him for. Was it against the rules? Yes. And he admitted it and then, took his licks. But is that a major infraction? That's not hookers. That's not
No.
big, massive, underhanded money from shoe companies. I mean, that's a damn barbecue, man.
Yeah, right. Hey, Phoenix Animation, how's it going?
Hey, bud.
Glad you're here. Uh, so with oh oh shit, I have a wrench now. That no, yeah, I gave you a wrench. You're on here all the time, and you've been on the show, so I went ahead and gave you the wrench. So if you ever want to post links or anything in the chat, you can go right ahead.
Hey, feel free.
Yeah. Um. So with this new NFL G League, do you think that in a couple of years that will be where most of these players go? A lot of these, right now the one and done players that are in the college, do you think they'll end up going to being a lot more going to that G League?
I I think that they will. I think enough people are going to start breaking that wall down again. And I mean, I think that the minimum that those guys sign for is still six figures. So it's not like they're going over to play for pennies. You don't have to worry about class, which most of those guys who are one and dones don't anyway.
Yeah.
But they still have to at least fake it, and they
Yeah.
have to jump to the NCAA hoops to make people think that they're following all these rules and guidelines when they're just they picked a big name school so that they're on TV a lot, so that there's a lot of tape out there, and that they go in the top 10 or 15 and get that money. And so that they can, I think, as the G League advances this program and as more people decide to do it, and there's also a lot of just regular players in the NBA who are coming out of the G League now. They're pulling guys who maybe were 3 or 4 year starters, didn't get drafted. They're going to the G League. It's one of your better minor league leagues out there right now, and it's growing really quickly. So I do think that that's going to be a route that a lot of people start to take.
So no more walk, jog, run, or
Yeah.
underwater basket weaving, or that would have to take some skill though. I know that's always been the joke for the class is underwater basket weaving, but I've
Weaving,
always thought too,
I
like,
mean,
yeah, that would take some skill to do that. Like, do I have scuba gear on? Am I with a snorkel? Like, what
yeah,
kind of
people are hating on this. They don't knock it until you've tried. We can't say that that's easy.
yeah? Are the Auburn's got what's the Auburn one? It was like the puppies class where you go in and pet puppies all day just for the
Yeah,
class.
yeah. I can't remember the name of it.
But I was like, damn, I wish I had that class. That'd be awesome.
I took I took one. It was calisthenics, specifically jogging. So like, it wasn't calisthenics colon jogging, but it was like calisthenics colon art of jogging or something like that. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I actually needed like a PE credit and an easy A one summer, and we
Yeah.
would show up, and the guy would be like, "All right, run 2 miles." That was the class.
Wow. Well, I know I took weight training and conditioning, and first day in class, yeah, I pull up, I got gym shorts on and stuff, and then we're sitting there doing notes, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing notes for? And then we were in like we did weight training like maybe for a week, and then after that we did like basketball and football and kickball and things like that. And I was sorely disappointed. I was looking to work out
You see
and get a credit hour for.
that same summer is probably the most in shape I was my whole college career because I tried my very best all throughout college not to be in shape. Whether it be, well, just put it under the large umbrella of partying my ass off. Um, but that summer I needed some easy A's. So I took the jogging class and then I took a weight training class. But now it really was calisthenics colon weight training. But it was exactly that. We would work out 4 days. He would go over all the techniques. This guy was really passionate about his job. The other guy was just there to collect a paycheck. This guy definitely was more hands-on. He would come and correct form, and then Wednesday in the middle of the week we would play ultimate frisbee. And I actually got pretty good, which is pretty impressive because I started off really shitty. I started off very bad.
Yeah. I just remember being in the basketball one when we were in, and the some of the other guys that I took like biology classes with, they were in that class with me, and I talked to one of them like, yeah, I played football in high school and all that, and he was like, oh, well, I play basketball, and then we played basketball one day, and he was like, dude, I thought you played football, like you're really good at this. I was like, I don't know, I guess it's just being an athlete kind of thing,
Yeah.
because my buddy Leif was in that class as well, and we were on opposite teams, and I got a fast break. And this, I mean, this is my best friend, and this asshole comes and he just barges through me as I'm going up to do the layup, and I feel him doing it. So I touch, you do that little touch off the backboard and made it. I was like, dude, what the hell? You're taking out my legs.
Hey,
He was not athletic whatsoever. That was probably the most athletic thing I ever saw him do.
That's me. If I'm on a basketball floor, I am all effort defense. I can catch and pass the ball. I can dribble enough to where I don't get it stolen from me very much. I'm also very short, so it's a little bit tougher to steal it from me because I have very low center of gravity. But really, truly dribbling or driving the basket, and God forbid I shoot it. those things are not things Kenyatta does well.
There was also one guy in that class too that you know how you always have that guy that's he always brags, he's always the one, oh, I could do this, I'm doing that. And he was playing defense up, and I was at the 3-point line and I got the ball. He's like, oh, you can't make it, and he steps back. So I'm like, all right, and I shoot it and I nail it. And even the teacher, it was this short little lady. She was built, but she was maybe like 5'2",
Mm-hmm.
and she just busted out laughing and thought it was the funniest thing.
That's that just true feeling of satisfaction.
Oh yeah. No, I tried it again, and I don't think after that layup and that shot, I don't think I made anything else. But it was still just that right moment, right time where you can't make this, and then steps back. Yep. But I mean that teacher, she was on the floor just like laughing her ass off after that. Well, anyway, let's get back to some college basketball.
All right. Well, we have gone over my team extensively, spent a very long time going over a very average basketball team. How about we talk about your team, Normie? Alabama is killing it and has an incredible shot at being a 1 seed this year.
Yes, and I'm pretty shocked. I mean, when Nate Oates got there last year, I was not a huge fan of his offense. So basically, Nate Oates' offense is you're either shooting a 3 or it's a layup. You don't shoot any shots in the paint. There's nothing. It's a layup or a 3. And last year, I saw him get beat a lot with that. Also, one of the big differences I've seen between like last year and years before with Avery Johnson and this year was, Alabama's basketball team, they were always either they would beat a team that they weren't supposed to, or they would play them really close.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they would play a team that they were supposed to run out of the gym, they'd end up losing. It was always this back and forth things. Whereas this year, it seems like they've finally gotten serious to where, if it's a team they're supposed to beat, they're going to beat. Or if it's a team that may play them close, especially in this SEC stretch. Now they lost a few before the SEC that probably shouldn't have. But in this SEC stretch, the only SEC loss they have was Missouri, and that should have been an embarrassing loss because I watched that game. They were down 22 points with like less than 10 minutes left in the game, and came back and had 2 shots to win the game. I think they ended up losing by like 4 maybe. But on these old, like last year, older teams, I never saw anything like that where they would just fight back. Um, I I do see some cracks starting to form. Uh, I honestly kind of think they may have peaked a little too early.
Well,
Uh,
they're riddled with injuries right now.
yes,
I mean, they've got especially Herb Jones, but a few others that are able to play right now. But they do not look, and that started with Missouri as well. So I'm, even as an Auburn fan, I don't, if we're playing, I'm, state, let's go state. If Auburn doesn't have a chance, if Bama doesn't have a chance, maybe UAB has a chance. I don't know.
yeah,
Also, UAB's having a really good year.
yeah. That new coach is doing wonders for them.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, they did lose. Herb Jones has had some hand problems again. I will say this though, Herb Jones is the fucking man. Like he is one of the best utility players, and even last year he was mainly known for his defense, but even this year, I mean, he's mostly playing point guard this year. He's improved a lot on his 3-point shot. I mean, last year I don't think he could even hit the rim from the beyond the 3-point line, and now he is vastly improved, and it makes defenses have to guard him because that is an actual threat of him shooting that three.
and his
But
his effort, like that's
yeah,
a guy, like it transcends whatever uh, genre of sports you're talking about. You can watch him start to finish of anything that he's doing, match, competition, game. He is going as hard as he can. And
yeah,
that's how you can really tell that he's hurting right now between his hand and his back and some other stuff, is because he's not moving the same. He looks like he's in pain,
mm,
because otherwise, that dude is balls to the wall, whistle to whistle. He's. I agree with you. He is the man. I really enjoy him. I mean, he's not super gifted at anything, but his effort way makes up for that and turns him into. I mean, play he'll play in the association, I imagine.
yeah. I think he will. I mean, if he doesn't get in the NBA, he'll definitely go G League,
Yeah,
like we were talking about, and maybe after a couple of years, kind of developing his game, maybe be able to move on. I mean, my favorite story about him was it was last year, and I cannot remember who we were playing, but it came to the end of the game. He had a cast on one hand
yeah,
because he had broken it, and it was his non-shooting hand, or no, it was his shooting hand, I think. But they at the end of the game they were fouling him whenever he got the ball because that's the guy with the cast. And he goes out there, nails 2 3 free throws to ice the game. And it was just like he has to shoot them one-handed. And I thought that is a fucking man right there.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
going out there, having to shoot it one-handed, boom, boom, hits them both. But Alabama's also missing. They had a grad transfer from Yale. It's Burner,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a bigger guy. But a lot of the younger guys have kind of stepped up. You got Ellis and Primo. Primo went through kind of a little drought 3 wise, but last week or on Saturday he kind of picked it back up because they just beat the shit out of Georgia. I mean, they scored 115 points. Um,
Yeah, that was a skull drugging right there, man.
yeah, I think a lot. I think they're just a lot of teams have really picked up on their playing defense against them at the 3 line. I don't think other teams had respected them as much until that like LSU game where they shot like 23 threes or they made 23 threes.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
insane.
I think after that game was when it was like, okay, we have to guard them. And ever since then, they've really had to drive the ball inside, and they don't have as many players that can do that. I mean, Shackelford's really good, but I think Shackelford's a little shorter on the shorter end, so he'll try and drive it in, and bigger guys are going to block his shots. And I mean, Alabama just really doesn't have that big guy because of the way their team is set up. So, I mean, Herb Jones can do. I mean, he's pretty tall himself, and he can play the defense on the big guy, but as far as driving it in, it's been really tough on them. And then they kind of went a little cold on their threes, but it looks like that's picking up as well. So maybe they can peak again, and especially if they can get healthy. They've had a little extra time to a little couple days because they were supposed to play Texas A&M tonight, but that one got postponed, and it might actually end up getting postponed again.
Yeah, especially with the weather right now. It's Texas got slammed. Anybody who's listening from Texas, good luck, or anybody from all of the winter weather. I think only 3 total states in the continental U.S. didn't get snow this week.
Wow.
Florida, South Carolina, and I can't remember who else, but it's wild. Everybody stay safe, stay warm. But yeah, so that game's been a mess. But going back to Bama peaking or not peaking, what they still are, I agree, they haven't looked nearly as explosive as they did about 2 weeks ago. Maybe they had about a 2-week stretch that I think ended 2 weeks ago with that loss to Missouri, where they looked like a number 1 seed and not, borderline or fringe. Like if they hadn't dropped some of their early non-conference games, they would have been on everybody's 1 line. They actually still bounced around on a lot of really respected bracketologists' 1 lines. I remember that. But I think a lot of it's injuries, and they're still the only team in the entire SEC that you can count on game to game this year.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like a team like Missouri, who they look like they were going to be pretty good, and I think they're like 6-6 in the SEC right now.
Yep, I mean,
they're still ranked. Alabama's still 3 games ahead of the second best team in the SEC right now. So if they keep that momentum that they had against Georgia, I think they can, because they barely beat South Carolina. I think they beat them by like 3 last week, and then they beat the shit out of Georgia. Of course, Georgia's not a very good team.
Yeah.
But they don't. I think they have their hardest game left would be Tennessee. I think they play Tennessee again. But they also have like Vanderbilt, and I think maybe Arkansas again. Of course, Arkansas is kind of, I know they're like 24th now, so they're kind of slipping back up there as well.
They are my dark horse scary team for the SEC tournament. I don't think that they'll win it, but I think that they'll bite somebody in the ass on the way.
Yeah.
Whether it be Tennessee or Alabama, somebody like that, I think that they'll jump up and bite some big dog in the ass, because they are playing. They're a team that has really started to peak. They had a slow start, but I know they're gaining momentum right now.
Yeah. And like I said, I haven't really watched much of Tennessee. I know Alabama beat them earlier in the year, but I know they were ranked pretty high for a little while, and I think they've kind of just slacked off and just kind of slid down. I think they're like 17 or 18 now, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. Missouri looked hot, especially after knocking off Alabama, and then they turn around and drop a couple of games. I think Ole Miss got them, and then they lost to somebody else that was they should not have lost that game type of thing if they're going to be a tournament team.
Yeah.
And I've heard that, they're still probably a tournament team. The SEC still probably gets 6, maybe even 7 teams into the tournament. But that's what I was saying, like, as far as Alabama is the only one that is consistent. I mean, they've only dropped the one game, and it's to a fairly decent borderline tournament team, to Missouri, in conference play. And everybody else has these weird nights off that they can be playing a basement of the SEC team, like Tennessee, or like, not that Tennessee's a basement. They can be playing somebody on that lower tier, Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, and then lose it.
Yeah. Kind of like the Alabama of old.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'd be competitive against, like when Kentucky was good, they either beat them. I think they beat them once last year.
Yeah, they split.
And then they would go to, like, Ole Miss, who was like last in the conference, and lose to them. It was the most frustrating thing. I was like, how can you do this?
So they've got their consistency together right now. I think that they're going to be an incredibly dangerous tournament team, especially if they can, win out. And, I think if they win out, it really doesn't matter what they do in the SEC tournament. I think that they probably write themselves onto one of those one lines. And if they do, I think that they could be very dangerous for a Final Four run. I mean, I was reading a couple of stats before we got on, the very little bit of research that I did get to do. They're the number one adjusted defensive percentage team, which is, the ADP. That's generally how you say they have the number one defense in the nation. And then they're 9th in pace. And that's, they like to just fly around, don't get stuck in half court too much, kick it out, 3, drive it, kick their drive. They just like to keep it moving. And if they can get hot doing that, whether it be hitting a lot of layups or dunks or threes, once they find their groove, I think that they could even topple a Gonzaga or a Baylor. If they're hot shooting, that's a very tough style to stop.
Yeah, no, it is. But like to say, you live by the 3, you die by the 3.
Yeah, sure enough.
Well, all right, let's move on. Let's show this bracket. So this is just the
1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s.
So the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s are set in stone, or
no, I think it's just the reveal. Like, everybody's still very fluid right now.
Okay, that's what I thought.
This is just the committee kind of giving everybody an idea, because actually the bracket that you're looking at right now is different than the bracket that I'm looking at right now. But that's fine. I don't know the date that I got mine. But their initial release, I believe, is what I was looking at, and it's probably changed since then.
Okay, so this one was updated yesterday.
Yeah, so that one's going to be your more up-to-date. Initially, their initial release, I believe, you had Gonzaga as your 1 seed in Region 1, Alabama as your 2 seed, Oklahoma as your 3, Iowa as your 4, which, Gonzaga, Iowa, Alabama, Oklahoma, in that. And then Region 2 was Baylor 1, Illinois 2, Tennessee 3, Texas 4. Region 3 was Michigan 1, Houston 2, West Virginia 3, Missouri 4. And this, this would have – when did they do their first release? Was that Friday, Saturday?
I think it was Friday.
Okay, and then Region 4 was Ohio State 1, Villanova 2, Virginia 3, Texas Tech 4.
Okay, so this one's changed a little bit. So Region 1 here, and let me see if I can't.
And this might be somebody's full bracket, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the committee only...
This is the ESPN's bracketology.
Okay. So then this is going to be different. The committee only released their top 16. So, and like that is the committee's top 16. That's not a
Okay.
bracketologist or whatever. So, and that was, it's kind of what they do. And I think it's only fairly recent, but to give you an idea of how they're grading going down the scale.
Okay.
And I don't know how often they update it. It probably comes like a weekly thing until, Selection Sunday type thing.
Kind of like the college football playoff
Exactly.
rankings. Yeah, they
Exactly.
do that each
I
week, but
wonder if one of those inspired the other type thing.
yeah. And you can kind of see where everything's going. You can kind of see the things that they're looking for.
Hmm.
Okay. So I get that. So this one you got in region 1, you got Gonzaga number 1, Houston 2, Iowa 3, and Texas Tech 4. And then the region 2, we got Baylor 1, Illinois 2, uh, Virginia 3, and Tennessee 4.
Okay.
The region 3, you got Michigan 1, Villanova 2, Oklahoma 3, Florida State 4. And region 4, we have Ohio State 1, Alabama 2, West Virginia 3, and Texas 4.
If this guy's bracket, guy or girl, whatever, whoever's doing it, this person's bracket turns out to be accurate come, I think we're 27 days away from Selection Sunday now, 27 or 28. Then Alabama fans need to be incredibly excited.
Yes.
Because that would be, in my opinion, just about the best case scenario. The little bit of research I was able to do throughout the day today, and just what I have watched and read and all that I've absorbed since the season started. I think everybody who has an inkling about the season of college basketball this year knows that there are two teams at the top,
Yes.
Gonzaga and Baylor. Gonzaga and Baylor are undefeated. They're your one seeds, and right now, not by a little, by a lot.
Yes.
It's really not even close. Now Gonzaga plays in a pretty weak conference, but they look good enough. In fact, they actually kind of look bored right now. A lot of people have said they've had some close games here recently, and then basketball experts kind of like, well, they kind of go through the motions right now. Now Baylor plays in the Big 12, which is actually a pretty damn good conference, and they're still eating opponents up. So I think they're going to be battle tested and ready. Just that's my quick and dirty on those two. I have started to hear noise. A lot of people were saying coming into this week that there's not really a third best team. It's those two and then everybody else. But Michigan has really started to make some noise. I think they had a late comeback against maybe Iowa this weekend, and they've really started to push for being that number 3 team. Like they're the third best team maybe. And then for that other fourth seed, fourth number 1 seed, and like you've got a lot of people on that, interchanging out right there, and all of your twos could easily still jump up into that spot, or maybe even still knock off Michigan, depending on how they play down the stretch. There's a month left of regular season, basically. So,
yeah.
But if you are a 1 seed or a 2 seed, if you are a 2 seed like Bama is right now, and I think I've heard pretty much everybody, even as of today, say that they're a 2 seed. You do not want to be in Gonzaga or Baylor's bracket.
No, you don't.
In the other two, but you do not want to be in their bracket if you want to make a Final Four run.
Yeah, and I've heard the same thing that that it's Gonzaga and Baylor. My thing was Gonzaga though is every year they're supposed to be great, but I mean, when was the last time they've won a national championship?
Oh, it's been years. like like I think that they're not considered a blue blood type thing. They're a basketball school,
Yeah.
but they always find a way to, you know, just choke it up down the stretch or in the tournament.
Hmm. All right, let's see. We got so they've got LSU as an 8 seed. See any other SEC team? Oh, so out of our blue bloods though, it's looking like Kansas will be a 6 seed, and they're talking that North Carolina will barely make it in there as like an 11 seed. And there is no Duke and no Kentucky on here.
Yeah, if they don't win their conference tournaments, they're not in. By everything that I've heard, Kentucky and Duke, who really for the last decade or so have been the two more dominant of the blue bloods. I mean, they they're the worst of the blue bloods right now, and they don't look like very good basketball teams.
No. Well, I know Nate Oates kind of blasted Mike Krzyzewski because
Yeah,
he was talking about how they should cancel the season, and Nate Oates was like, "Yeah, if he was undefeated right now, he wouldn't be saying that," which is
yeah.
absolutely true.
Nate Oates. One thing that I really like about Nate Oates is that is an honest man. Like
Yeah,
he does not coach speak you very much at all. I mean he doesn't seem like a dick. It doesn't seem like he's being like rude about it. I remember the reporter asked him if he thought that the season should be canceled, and then he was like, "Well, do you think that he would be saying that if they'd won?" No, I'm just asking the question. I didn't say that.
yeah. No, it's he really does take to that like hard hat mentality. So like he everywhere he goes, he puts in this like blue collar, like hard hat kind of mentality. Like he has hard hat awards, and they have a point system after each game. You know, you get so many for a rebound or diving on the floor, taking a charge, things like that.
Mhm.
And he really lives up to that like blue collar hard hat mentality.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He, he's a grinder. He's just a nose to the grindstone. We're just gonna get our lunch pails, put our blue collar shirts on and go out there and just grind.
Yep.
Uh, he's got the guys this year. It seems like to buy into it, where it's not about who scores what or my assist numbers, this, that, or the other. It's not individual. It's very, very team oriented.
Yep.
As far as Gonzaga goes, uh, they've never won a national championship.
Wow.
They were the runner up in 2017. That is also their only Final Four appearance as a program. Now, since Mark Few took over in '99, they have been a dominant program in their conference. They've also been pre him won a couple, 4 or 5. Since him, it looks like he took over in '99. It looks like they've won every single year except for nope. It looks like every single year he is the conference. Oh, 2000. We're missing 2000. Uh,
Wow.
and since him, they make the tournament pretty much every year. I mean, with the at-large bids for your non-power conferences, that makes sense. He
Yeah.
would that bid by, but yeah, he has made the Sweet 16 in 99, 2000, 2001, 06, 2009, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So, I mean, Sweet 16 is a really big step. That's good stuff. And then Tournament Elite 8, 99. Didn't see it again until 15. Took a year off. Got back in 17. That's when they made their Final Four run and then were the runner-up in the tournament or in the championship game, and then made the Elite Eight again in 2019. So
All right.
they've been incredibly good since he's taken over, but he, for the last 22 years, is a guy that seems like he's an excellent basketball coach, but
Yeah.
cannot get them to the big, big, big stage. His name is Mark Few, for anybody who didn't hear me the first couple of times. So here's that little trivial piece of knowledge I did to know.
Yeah, I mean, because it always seems like every year they're up there as far as seating wise, and talked about, okay, this will be their year, and it just never seems to really happen.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, just doesn't pan out for him.
Well, all right. I think that's about all I got for tonight. I do want to say, don't forget, we do have a bracket challenge for this year. There is a video in the description. Watch that video. It'll tell you everything you need to know on how to get entered in that. And it'll be a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. I mean, I don't know of an easier way to win a Amazon gift card.
Well, and now even if me or Normie here were able to win the card, if we place number one or whatever, it goes to the next closest person. We're not trying to screw any of you over. But you
Yeah.
just heard us talk about basketball this season.
Yep.
So you have an excellent shot over the two people that I know who are for sure going to be in it,
Yep.
even if it's just for pride. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good fun tournament. It's easy to make a bracket. Doesn't take much time, and then keeps you kind of vested in the games. I will say, I think between now and the tournament, Selection Sunday, we got just under 30 days to do it. So that gives us about 4 to 5 more weekly shows. I will brush up. I will be more prepared. And also, Phoenix, I don't know if you're still there. Normie here has gotten into a few hockey games and
I have.
just got ESPN Plus signed up on my lunch break today. Looking forward to hitting some rewinds, replays, and catching some live. So maybe we can get one of those set up in between as well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. Like you said, I have been watching a lot of it, and if I'm not watching it live, I'm watching the replay. And especially with the ESPN Plus, it's easy if you want to. Like a lot of times, I'll watch like the first or second period, and then I'll have to go do something else, but I can easily go back and watch it, watch the replay, and I know, okay, I need to start it at the third period. So
Mhm.
I've really been enjoying it, and you don't have to really worry about much about the games being spoiled.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to avoid looking at your phone or social media or some asshole friend who didn't know that you didn't catch the end. You're good to go.
Well, alrighty, it's been a fun show. If you like everything, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button for us, and like we said, chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. Description below. Just watch that video. It'll tell you everything you need to know. And we'll see everybody next time.
Take it easy, guys.